8 characteristics of a covert narcissist. The narcissistic personality disorder is on a spectrum, so some are just mentally and emotionally abusive, which in itself is soul-destroying to those who've lived it. Some are also physically abusive, yet through fear people stay. As it's on a spectrum, there is those who can learn to handle themselves around them. Now, I know a few people say, why do I need to handle myself? I'm not actually in the wrong. And once over all the self-blame and self-doubt and all the toxic spell that they put us under, no, you are not to blame, and no, you are not in the wrong. The thing is, they do have a disorder. It is who they are. They do not see themselves as the problem. They do not reflect on their actions. They are never accountable. Therefore, they see no need to change. They change their partners, they change their lies, all to meet a need of their own. They never change themselves. Now, those without empathy can be extremely dangerous. You know what you've been through and how far they will take things. So always get out safely and always put your safety first. There are those you will need to move miles away from. Usually the narcissistic sociopath or the narcissistic psychopath. I'll add a video link in the description about those. Others, however, if you have to co-parent or cut off a good parent to cut off the toxic one, work colleagues, and other than them, your job's great. You can learn to handle yourselves around them, yet there are many types on the disorder. So how do you know what you're truly dealing with? To know if you need to disarm them, first things first, abuse is abuse, mental or physical or both, and no one deserves this. No one should put up with this, whether they are narcissistic or not. I'm Elizabeth Shaw. Welcome to the channel, which is all about the narcissistic personality disorder, to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with in your life and ways to recover from narcissistic abuse. If you do like the information on the channel, please do subscribe. If you've been listening for a while, thank you very much for the returning subscribers. So, when we think of narcissism, we often think of the outward, grandiose, attention-seeking, superior, confident, outgoing, charming, well, the superficial charm, lack of responsibility, exploiting others, lack of empathy, manipulative, and the rest. Yet not all are the overt, grandiose, or extroverted. Some are introverted, shy, vulnerable, the closet narcissist, the covert. Yes, they have the same destructive behaviours as the grandiose or the overt, and they can both cross over in between the two at times, depending on who they are trying to manipulate and what they're doing at that moment. So most narcissists can play the woe is me victim if needed, most can play the hero if needed, and most will never ever play the villain, only offering a false apology if they have something to gain by doing so. Many introverts and extroverts are not actually narcissistic. If they don't go around exploiting people, if they don't feel self-entitled, and if they have the ability to truly, genuinely care for others and have that empathy, they are not a narcissist. Although no type of narcissist is actually obvious at first, as we often don't know about the disorder itself, yet when we do, we listen and pay more attention to our own instincts when those signals are off about someone. When we are unsure as to what they are telling us, what our own instincts are telling us, as narcissistic people do have a way of making others feel off balance. They have a way of influencing those who are around them, and the more we know, the more we notice. As hard as it can be to listen to those instincts, as most of them will have raised us up so high at some point, so we want to believe that they are a good, genuine person, and with all the blame shifting, gaslighting and other manipulative behaviours they do, we are often led to believe the problem is us. Yet once we've been sucked in before, learned about the disorder and learned about ourselves, we learn to listen to those instincts and walk away from people we meet that just something doesn't feel right. Words not matching actions, the way they treat other people. An overt narcissist will say things in more obvious ways. I'm more educated than you am. You look awful in that. You're not qualified. You're not capable. You're crazy. You cannot do that. And all the rest that they do. Covert narcissists do the same thing, yet it's a lot more subtle and underhand. They're all underhand. So they will say things like, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you should wear that. Are you really going to do that? I wouldn't do that if I was you. Are you losing your mind? And all the rest. Still, when you love and care for someone, it's hard to pay close attention to those comments. Instead, our brains take them in and we begin to question ourselves instead of questioning the very person that's telling them to us, leaving us to be full of self-doubt and going to that very person that's giving us the self-doubt for support, only for them to sink us further. So, here's some characteristics of a covert narcissist. Number 1, lack of empathy. Now, most narcissists have a complete lack of empathy. They are self-absorbed and often just think about themselves and getting their needs met. They will rarely to never be there for you when you need them the most. Some, when they are sick, will keep going. Therefore, they might act, say, or do things in a way you wouldn't if someone else is sick. So, for example, if someone with empathy is sick, yet they carry on, when you're sick, they might not ask how you are, and they might expect you to carry on, yet not judge you if you don't. So, just because of this next example I'm going to give, if someone's not always there for you when you are sick, look at how they treat themselves when they are. They might not be a narcissist just because they do this. A covert narcissist will want, need and demand attention and help and support when they are sick. Yet when you are, it'll be things like, you said you'd do this for me, or are you still going to take me here? They'll not care about you being ill. It'll just be about them still getting their needs met. And if you don't, they will hold it against you forevermore when they need to bring it up. They'll forget the part where you were sick and couldn't do things for them and remind you about the fact that you didn't do something for them. Number 2, passive aggressive. Some covert narcissists deal with conflict or situations in passive aggressive ways, often acting indirectly aggressively, which most narcissists can do. Coverts do so most of the time. They show resistance to requests from those around them in more subtle ways than the obvious covert, who will tell you straight out, I'm not doing that, or I do things my way. A covert might actually agree with a shrug of the shoulders or say, yes, of course I'll do that, or whatever you like. When you ask them if they could help you out, but then they will sit and do nothing. They might be sullen, they might sit and procrastinate or be stubborn, yet they'll not actually do it, even though they've said they would. When you ask why they didn't, they will make up excuses or say things like, I thought you meant this, or I forgot, and still not bother even though they agreed. They will conveniently forget. So if you ask them to grab something on the way home and they don't do it, it will be, oh, I forgot. You feel let down as you thought they would, yet you can't really say anything as it could be a mistake. People do forget and will often try to make it up. Coverts conveniently forget on a regular basis, gaslighting by saying that they forgot. They will shrug the shoulders and never do anything about it. Number 3, highly sensitive. Most narcissists are sensitive to most forms of criticism, even constructive, helpful criticism. Where an overt might twist it onto you, provoke an argument so they can blame shift, an overt will most likely defend themselves with smugness, seem to be completely dismissive to what you've said to them, or completely withdraw from the conversation and go on a silent treatment. Most do not let on that they have been offended and will continue to scheme to get people back if they feel like someone's offended them. They might just shut the conversation down. They might pity play so you feel sorry for them and make excuses up for them. Things like, it's okay for you, you got help from so-and-so. I have to do things for myself. No one's ever helped me out. Number 4, misunderstood. While most narcissists believe they are better than all others, unique and special, and it's okay to feel special. The difference is a narcissistic person feels special, entitled, and above all others. They do not see people as individuals that are equal and everyone is worthy. They only see themselves as worthy. A covert can feel like the world is against them, as do most narcissists. The overt that put the grand superior act on, and the covert act and speak more vulnerable and tell tales. They can all tell tales, but they will tell lies, how all others have let them down and hurt them. Overt will often say they can read people, whereas coverts will often say nobody gets me. Number 5, quiet smugness, the quiet entitlement and the quiet superiority. Once we learn about the disorder, overts seem to be easier to spot with their big grand acts of how much better they are than others and their exaggerations of their achievements. Coverts are a little trickier. They tend to listen half-heartedly and observe what's happening around them. They might not express negativity straight out like the overt who'd criticise what others say or do and put them down. Coverts most often will roll their eyes, groan, glare with their eyes, start yawning, give dismissive gestures, get bored. Any comments made will be extremely judgmental and only from one point of view, which is always their point of view. Number 6, self-absorbed. Most narcissists are self-absorbed and do not pay attention or listen to others. With the overt, they will take over conversations. They'll not be helpful to... They'll make it all about them. Coverts can be quieter, therefore they might just look like they are listening and paying attention to you, then just zone out and block out what you are actually saying. Good people can do this when they're busy or stressed over a situation. Coverts do this most of the time. They make a quick judgment on whether the conversation will serve them, and if not, their mind is out of there as they only think about themselves. 7, difficulty in maintaining relationships. Most narcissistic people do find this difficult, as deep down they are insecure individuals that run around telling so many lies. They don't know who to trust. Some have actually had some form of trauma and been deeply hurt in their past, although this is no excuse to go around hurting others. People who've been hurt go around helping others through, which also helps them. Narcissistic people go around destroying all others to help them feel better. Most narcissistic people do the idealization, devalue, discard, and the majority will do the hoover. And some can stay in a relationship for years, others only months, but all have problems maintaining a healthy relationship with anyone close to them due to their lack of ability to compromise, their need for control, their lack of empathy towards others, and the fact they never think anything is ever their fault, as they flip the script within their minds, change the reality, and end up believing their own lies, whilst getting enablers and flying monkeys to believe them also. 8, patronising and condescending. Most narcissists are patronising to people around them. All will take people down. So those around them are left not feeling good enough. With an overt, it is more of the you cannot do that or you're crazy. With a covert, they say things more like, I wouldn't if I was you, or I'm concerned for your mental health. So they say it in a way that comes across like they care when they actually don't. Coverts on the outside don't often seem that bad and are not often physically abusive. All narcissists are confusing when we don't understand what they are, yet coverts are much more subtle in the ways they go around things. Often their words never match their actions and you just feel off around them. They might not directly put you down, or they might do it in a way that seems to be like they are helping you, that they might not scream out and lash out at you, yet you feel belittled by them and confused around them, questioning what they meant by their last remark. Listen to your instincts. If something feels off, even if you don't know what it is, those instincts are trying to protect you. The narcissistic personality disorder is on a spectrum. They will use any weakness or strength of the individual they are targeting. They will use manipulation tactics to suit their needs and depending on the person they are trying to manipulate. We have the malignant, the grandiose, the somatic, the cerebral, the overt, the covert and the victim on the spectrum. Some are far more dangerous than others and you need to stay well clear. Others, if you can manage your own state of mind and limit contact, you don't have to completely cut them off if it means cutting other good people off. Just be careful that you don't let them infect your mind anymore. Some, once you see what they are and what they do, you can learn to observe and not absorb their toxic nature. I shall add a video link in the description about this. Some you can limit your time around and avoid certain topics of conversations. Some you do need to just stay clear of them. Those who have the disorder have a disorder. You cannot change them. It's hard enough changing ourselves. Plus, they don't want to recognise their faults within themselves and learn from their mistakes and find strategies to cope with their disorder. They just prefer to carry on their path of destruction whilst blaming all others. I wouldn't recommend calling any of them out on their behaviour. Those without empathy, you never know how they will act. If you don't like how someone treats you, you are more than entitled to leave them to it and go live your life with them no longer in it. It's not cruel, it's not mean to let someone who continuously lets you down and hurt you go live their life whilst you go live yours. Much wiser, much stronger and much happier. Thank you to everybody for listening and for subscribing, and I'm really grateful that you are finding value from these videos. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.